good afternoon, Tim. How are you?
I'm doing great, Norm. How are you?
I'm great, thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time, and it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
That's great. Listen, your project is transformational. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're doing is converting the roadway into a network for digital services for connected electric and autonomous vehicles. That's kind of the short form. Something else that's really key here, though, is bringing new financing and revenue opportunities to be able to fund this kind of transformation.
That's great. And give us a sense of when the idea came to you. How long ago? What happened? When was there kind of a eureka moment, or how has this come about?
Well, that's quite a question. I'm really going to date myself here. But when I was in high school in the late 90s, I realized that roadways should be modular, prefabricated, and built from standard pieces that could be rapidly assembled on site and then replaced easily. Now, over the years, that evolved to recognize that factory-based modular fabrication meant that we could incorporate advanced technology into the project and the roadway, but that all came later. The real seed of the idea for modular roadways was born in the late 90s.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. And you guys have a test facility up and running. Tell us a little bit about that. Where is it and what stage are you at?
Yeah, so we have a proof of concept installation that we just observed the 2-year anniversary on October 12th. We put it in and demonstrated it to the Colorado Department of Transportation October 12th of 2018. That's on Brighton Boulevard, right at 38th Street in Denver. Anybody can go out and check it out. It's a 60-foot segment of smart pavement. And then there's a roadside control center nearby that provides the edge hosting and the cloud connectivity for the smart infrastructure.
That's phenomenal. And what are your next? What are the next steps? What are you going to do next? Because I guess pretty soon you're going to have to roll this out and make a big splash nationally.
Absolutely, Norm. So we've been using the Denver installation as a development site. The same way that before anybody can buy a smartphone or a computer, there's got to be a ton of software built for it. So we did the install 2 years ago to begin building the software assets. At this point, we're really doing some amazing thing with traffic data collection and creating commercial value from that traffic data in the same way that any given website owner lives and dies by traffic. And online retail in particular, local brick and mortar businesses depend on traffic, road traffic, but they don't really know anything about it. So we're building the tools that business owners need to be able to take advantage of better data about traffic. We're also building the tools that cities and planners need, and we're using this as a demonstration site to begin implementing next generation services for connected vehicles, electric, autonomous. Now, with respect to rolling it out on a larger scope, we are in the development stages of a project for Lenexa, Kansas. You can find out more at showcasecitycenter.com. That's showcasecitycenter.com. And the purpose is to be a smart infrastructure showcase. It's an opportunity to show cities what their city might look like in 20 years when smart infrastructure is the market standard for building and operating, managing, and financing roadways. Now, we're delivering the data collection and commercialization tools. We're delivering wireless services for Wi-Fi, for 5G, for dedicated short-range communications and V2X. But we're also anticipating that there's a lot more to it than that. So after we finish phase 1, we're going to be rolling out additional phases to provide In motion dynamic wireless power transfer for wireless electric vehicle charging. As the vehicle is driving, it's continually charging from the roadway. And then also rolling out autonomous vehicle services and connected vehicle services.
So that's phenomenal. So, I was talking to last night a satellite guy.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out that, they may think they're in the satellite business, but they're probably in the data business.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think you're in the roadway business or do you think you're in the data business?
Well, we're in the data and services business, Norm. That's absolutely true. I mean, look at the transformation that the business office has had from the adoption of the desktop computer in the 1980s all the way through the adoption of internet services in the early thousands and then mobility services in the last 10 years. So, is Microsoft in the operating system business or business productivity, or Amazon? The largest portion of their revenue is actually from Amazon Web Services, not from online sales. So the way we see ourselves is data is the new oil. Data is going to be driving our communities and our automobiles to the same extent that we relied on fossil fuels to build the communities and the economy that we have now. So yeah, we're in the road business, but the reason that we're in the road business is to enable the collection and distribution and commercialization of data and data-related services.
That's fantastic. That's a really interesting story. And what do you need next? What do you need right now? Are you looking for investors or are you looking for something else, just to get a sense of where you are, what you're looking for, what it's going to take to roll this out more broadly?
So I guess the answer to that is, what do you got, right? Because we need investors for our projects. That's a given. I mean, we use a public-private partnership financing model for all the projects we do. Public agencies, they have a role to play and they contribute capital, but they're not the primary or exclusive source of capital for smart infrastructure. We rely very heavily on private backers to finance the project delivery. We need partners, right? There's 8 million miles of roadway in the United States. 40% of it needs to be replaced from the ground up. So we need that entire supply chain, from materials to engineers and designers to contractors and equipment providers. And then we add in this entire new layer of technology into the entire supply chain. So really, with transformation like this comes a depth and a breadth of need. And I don't mean to sound grandiose, but we believe this is going to have a similar impact on society and our economy as paving roads did 100 years ago, or building interstates did 60 years ago. And we need a lot of help. This is not something that we can do piecemeal with one project here and one project there. So we're trying to build a nationwide network that covers the entire supply chain and has the capacity to improve a significant portion of America's infrastructure over the next 10 years. Proving the technology works is going to bring us all of the financing that we're ever going to need. And the real struggle is going to be actually getting that installed in our communities so that we can take advantage of it. Just like the real struggle with cell phones or with internet was getting all of the fiber and all the lines laid so that people could use it.
That's really interesting. So where's the ideal next install for you? Two questions, a two-part question. Where's the next ideal install for you guys? And the second question is, what's really interesting to me is it sounds like this pays for itself.
So yes, and that's the goal, Norm, is to make roads pay for their own existence. Right now, roads are a liability, and traffic is an expense that increases the size of that liability. What we want to do is transform traffic into a source of revenue that pays for the roadway based on the demand for the digital services, whether it's the data services or communication or wireless charging or navigation, so that there's a direct connection between traffic and revenue. And that way roads pay for their own existence. We don't have to worry about, a massive transportation bill from Congress. We don't have to worry about how our communities are going to afford to reinvest in assets that, frankly, they've been stranded since they were originally built in the 60s or the 80s at some of the newest. So yes, we make the roads pay for themselves. And the other question is, how do we go about that? How do we scale up? Well, right now with Lenexa, we're doing 5 intersections.
Okay.
And that is really proving the financing and the revenue generation to repay that financing, as well as some of the digital services and the construction and the technologies. But really the big thing here is proving that the money works the way that it needs to. So you got to do it small before you can do it big.
Right.
And following the Lenexa project, we're going to be planting seeds all around the nation. So we're going to look at, say, the top 75 cities and pick the top 5 suburbs for each of those 75 cities. Why the suburbs and not the city? Lower bureaucracy, easier climate to work in,
Right.
easier to prove things so that when you go to the local big city, you've already got all the evidence that you need to get all the commitments you need to go ahead. But the point is, plant seeds in all of the major metro areas with small installations focused around the top 20% of intersections by traffic and the local area real estate value, right? Where's the demand for advanced data services, for advanced wireless services? So a real demand-based orientation around improvements, and build out the first 800 to 8,000 intersections so that we can continue scaling this up. And 10 years from now, we have the top 20% of the 800,000 intersections, signalized intersections in the United States improved. And we have the top 20% of lane miles by traffic demand for longitudinal sections, roadway, highway, interstate, improved. And really, obviously there's a lot more to it, Norm, but the goal here is to make logical stepwise efforts to go from a small project for a small price to an entire nationwide endeavor to rebuild America's core infrastructure.
That's interesting. So I was going to ask you, where do you think you're going to be in 5 years? But where you're going to be in 5 years is busy.
That's boy, that's an understatement, Norm. Yes.
Well, congratulations. It's great to talk to you, and it's great to hear about, what I really love about what you're doing is, the visionary aspect is really great, but the systematic aspect of it is what I think is wonderful. And the way you're building from small to large, but you're proving out the business concept as you go. And so we hope to be able to accompany you throughout the process. Let us know what you need from us, but pleasure talking to you. Congratulations, and and good luck, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Norm. The pleasure's all mine. I really appreciate your time this afternoon. I know that there's a lot more detail that we can go into, and we certainly would love to keep in touch and share more about how it works, what we're doing. There's certainly going to be a lot to talk to as we deliver the Lenexa project and as we start looking at the entire portfolio of what comes after that.
Yeah, I'd love to get a sense of some of the results you're producing, and maybe we can do this on a quarterly basis, Tim, and really get a sense of some of the data, some of the clients, some of the results, some of the benefits. Really help to share that around with people as you build your network around the country.
Absolutely, Norm. We'd love to do that. And there's just so much that we can share. Look, just on the data side, we've been having conversations with one of the largest point of sale systems provider in the nation, and they've realized that their businesses only understand their customer after a transaction has happened, right? That's when all the opportunity is realized. You can't do anything really to improve it. And so they're saying, you know what, if we had better traffic data for commercial intent, we would be able to actually optimize our brick and mortar businesses' access to customers and make sure that they get the best possible transaction with that customer that they can. It's leading information, because if you run brick and mortar, the person has to actually be trafficked in your area before they ever have a transaction with you. And there's so many really cool tools that we can share that we've been building for the use of that data. And actually, not to go on a tangent here, but we had a really fun conversation with a municipality the other day that said, we're trying to afford automated traffic signal performance measurement tools, but we can only afford to put them on a couple of our intersections, which makes it really slow. And we took it back and we looked at it and we realized we can provide 80% of this information as a natural byproduct of the commercial services that we're building anyway. So it's, you know, I come back to the whole transition from a pen and paper, or maybe, you know, typewriter and folder style office of the 60s and 70s to the desktop office of today. And what we're really doing by making the road into a digital platform is creating this software-driven, software-enabled transformation of every aspect of public infrastructure so that it benefits the drivers by having a better road and better services, the business owners by being able to operate a better business, and certainly, you know, in times like this, they've come to realize just how important traffic is to running a restaurant, and then help public agencies be able to not only afford these improvements that they desperately need, but be able to make sense of the data that they're going to be collecting through these incredible suites of new tools.
That's phenomenal. Really, congratulations. Listen, Tim, have a good weekend, and we'll see you. Well, hopefully we'll see you at the North American Leadership Forum, and then we'll see you in about 3 months as well.
All right, Norm, that sounds great. Have a great weekend. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.